News at 6 starts with breaking news. Take a look at this picture. In a story that you will only see on Fox 13, this is a convicted killer. Right now, he is on the run after the Shelby County Jail released him.
Now, this was a sudden change for Anthony Green. A jury convicted him of murder, and only 38 minutes later, the jail set him free.
Fox 13's Troyce Grant joins us live downtown at 201. Troyce, Fox 13 learned that this wasn't really an issue of just bad timing. Walk us through what happened.
Yes, so Anthony Green was here in jail at 201 Poplar for a Pooh.
Listen to this. Word is circulating that Pooh Shiesty is under investigation for allegedly assisting a close associate in slipping away from prison. And this wasn't just anybody. We're talking about a convicted killer who somehow walked free only 38 minutes after a guilty verdict was read. 38 minutes. A full jury sat there, reviewed the evidence, and convicted this man of first-degree murder. And before an hour even went by, he was casually walking out the front entrance like he'd just paid a parking ticket. Now, federal investigators believe Pooh Shiesty may have played a role in helping him stay low ever since. This sounds like a scene ripped straight out of a crime thriller, but it's reportedly happening in real time in Memphis. So buckle up, because what I'm about to break down is beyond crazy. All right, before we unpack how Pooh allegedly got tangled up in this mess, we need to pause and get clear on who this situation actually centers around. The man who escaped is named Anthony Green, but in the streets, he's known as Cho-Op. And hold up, Cho-Op isn't just some random character thrown into the story. This guy runs in the same Memphis circles that are closely linked to Pooh Shiesty and the entire 1017 movement. Memphis isn't a city where connections are loose or accidental, fam. Everybody knows everybody, and loyalty there often runs deeper than blood. To really understand how heavy that is, you've got to understand Memphis street culture. This isn't like places where crews are spread out and barely connected. In Memphis, especially areas like South Memphis and White Haven, the network is tight and locked in. Pooh Shiesty grew up in that environment, rising from nothing, and the people he came up with are the same ones he still stands with today. Cho-Op was one of those original day one guys. They were moving together way before fame, before the Gucci Mane 1017 deal, before any industry shine. That's the level of loyalty we're talking about, the kind where someone might risk everything because that's your brother, not by blood, but by shared struggle and survival. And to truly see how this situation spiraled out of control, we've got to rewind to June 2020, because that's where this story really starts. Memphis, White Haven area. It's a brutally hot summer night, and a 27-year-old named Octavius Atkins is sitting in his car at the intersection of Shelby Drive and Neely Road. He's just minding his business, maybe scrolling his phone, maybe waiting on someone. We don't really know. What we do know is that everything changed in a matter of seconds. Out of nowhere, a white Mercedes SUV pulls up, and that's when chaos erupts. According to police reports and witness statements, someone inside that white Mercedes SUV opened fire on Atkins' vehicle. Multiple shots, no hesitation, brazen, fearless energy. Octavius Atkins was pronounced dead right there at the scene, fam. His life ended instantly. But it didn't stop with him. A 49-year-old man sitting in another nearby car was also hit by gunfire. He survived, but the message was unmistakable. Whoever did this came with serious intent. Now here's where the story takes an even darker turn. After the shooting, that white Mercedes SUV vanished like it never existed. But Memphis police didn't waste time and jumped on the case immediately. Just hours later, they found the same white Mercedes abandoned behind a building and completely burned out. Someone intentionally set that vehicle on fire to destroy evidence, which tells you this wasn't random at all. This was deliberate. This was strategic. This was someone who knew exactly what they were doing, and tried to erase every trace. The Memphis Police Department quickly realized they were dealing with someone who understood how investigations work. Someone was actively trying to eliminate DNA, fingerprints, and any ballistic evidence tied to that car. Detectives went to work. After months of digging, checking surveillance footage, talking to witnesses, and carefully connecting the dots, they focused in on a suspect, Anthony Green, better known as Cho-Wop. A warrant was issued for his arrest, and months later, a Mississippi Highway Patrol officer caught him during a routine traffic stop. Cho-Wop was taken into custody and charged with first-degree murder in the killing of Octavius Adkins. But hold up, because this is where the justice system starts moving funny. While Cho-Wop was sitting in jail waiting for trial on the murder charge, he was also dealing with another case at the same time, a theft charge. Obviously nowhere near the level of murder, but it becomes important for what happens next. He was able to post bond on the theft charge while still being held on the more serious charge. You still following me? Good, because this is where everything completely derails. Fast forward to September 24th, 2025. Cho-Wop's murder trial finally kicks off. He stood before a jury. They saw everything: the surveillance footage, the witness testimony, and the forensic analysis of that burned Mercedes. Prosecutors laid it all out, step by step, showing how Cho-Wop was the shooter, how he attempted to destroy evidence, and how his actions ended one life and nearly claimed another. After deliberations, the jury returned with their verdict: guilty, first-degree murder. And in Tennessee, fam, a first-degree murder conviction means exactly one thing: life behind bars. Mandatory. No parole, no shortcuts. This isn't a light sentence with good behavior. This is your freedom is over type time. Everyone in that courtroom believed the same outcome, that Cho-Wop was about to be processed and transferred to a maximum security prison for the rest of his life. After 5 long years, the victim's family probably felt like justice had finally caught up. But that's not what happened. And this is where the entire system starts breaking down in real time. Once the jury said guilty, Cho-Wop should have been immediately remanded into custody, all bonds revoked, and officially logged as a convicted murderer serving a life sentence. The clerk was supposed to update the records, transmit the paperwork to the jail, and make sure there was absolutely no chance of release. But somewhere between that courtroom and the jail's computer system, a massive error occurred. At 201 Poplar, the main Memphis jail, the only records on file showed that Cho-Wop had posted bond on the theft charge. The paperwork confirming his murder conviction? Not processed, not entered, not visible. And in the jail system, if it's not in the computer, it doesn't exist. So what happened next is unbelievable. They let him walk free. 38 minutes. 38 minutes after being convicted of first-degree murder, Cho-Wop walked straight out of jail as a free man. His own lawyer, Brandon Hall, later admitted it was a clerical mistake, a straight-up paperwork breakdown. And here's the crazy part. Hall even pointed out that the jail usually moves painfully slow. People who bond out on small charges often sit for days before they're released. But somehow, the one time the system moved lightning fast was to release a convicted murderer. You literally can't make this kind of stuff up. The very next day, September 25th, 2025, authorities realized just how badly they messed up. The conviction documents finally processed, red flags went up, and a new warrant was issued for Anthony Green. This time, he was charged again with first-degree murder, use of a firearm during a felony, and attempted first-degree murder for the second victim who survived. But it didn't matter. Cho-Wop was already gone. He had a full 24-hour head start, enough time to cross state lines, vanish onto back roads, hide in safe locations, or disappear somewhere nobody would immediately search. And that's when another name started buzzing heavy in the streets: Pooh Shiesty. According to multiple sources and what investigators are allegedly piecing together, they believe Pooh Shiesty has been helping Chowawap stay out of sight. And I know what you're thinking. Pooh Shiesty is already locked up on federal charges. So how could he possibly help someone who's on the run? That's where loyalty and connections enter the picture. Even from behind bars, Pooh allegedly still has access to money and people on the outside. Investigators believe he's been directing funds, arranging resources, and linking Chowawap with trusted individuals who can keep him supported and off the radar. Because, let's be honest, a fugitive needs cash for food, for rides, for clothes, for constant movement, and for silence from anyone around him. And word on the street is that thousands of dollars have been circulating through family members, mutual friends, and crew connections to keep Chowawap comfortable while he runs from a life sentence. And it's not as simple as just sending money directly. Pooh still earns royalties from his music, and investigators believe that money may be getting rerouted through middlemen, clean hands, dirty intentions. At this point, what began as a murder case has exploded into a full-scale manhunt involving industry money, street loyalty, and a system failure that allowed a convicted killer to walk free. He's got investments, he's got accounts managed by people close to him, and what investigators think is happening is that Pooh Shiesty is allegedly calling shots from the inside, telling people on the outside how to move money without it being easily traced back to Chowawap. That could mean relatives, trusted associates, or other intermediaries handling the transfers. We're talking cash apps under alternate names, funds broken into smaller chunks and sent through multiple people, possibly even crypto to make tracking nearly impossible. Sometimes it's not digital at all, just straight cash passed hand to hand. This tactic is called structuring, and the whole goal is to stay invisible. The feds are good at following money, but once it's split and layered through people, proving where it ends up becomes way harder. Next piece of the puzzle, safe houses. When you're on the run, you can't just stay anywhere. You need places where nobody talks, where you're off the grid, and where police wouldn't immediately think to look. Investigators believe Pooh Shiesty allegedly connected Chowawap with locations through his network, places owned or controlled by loyal associates. These aren't random Airbnbs. We're talking rental properties under fake names, stash houses, or homes owned by people so far removed they wouldn't raise suspicion right away, places where silence is understood and cooperation with police is off the table. Then there are resources. Burner phones, fake IDs, transportation, everything needed to stay mobile and unseen. Chowawap can't use his real phone. Cell towers and GPS would expose him instantly. He can't drive a vehicle tied to his name either, because that plate is flagged nationwide. So investigators believe he's been supplied with temporary phones that get discarded every few days, cars not registered to him, and drivers willing to move him without asking questions. And once again, authorities believe these resources trace back to connections linked to Pooh Shiesty. That's where the Memphis Street Network really shows its power. Pooh Shiesty has connections across multiple neighborhoods, cities, and even states: Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, all across the South. Investigators believed that with just a few conversations from inside prison, an entire underground operation could be activated, moving Chowawap from spot to spot, always staying one step ahead of law enforcement. Now, you might be asking, how do police even know Pooh Shiesty is allegedly involved? First off, federal prison means non-stop surveillance. Phone calls are recorded. Mail is checked. Visits are monitored. Nothing slips by. If something's moving, investigators are listening for coded language, watching patterns, and tracking communication trails. Even when nothing is said directly, context and timing speak volumes. But that's not all. It's also about patterns. When investigators look at where Chowawap has allegedly been seen, who assisted him, and where the money appears to be coming from, a lot of it circles back to people connected to Pooh Shiesty. They're digging into financial records, phone data, surveillance footage, and leaning on lower-level associates, offering deals to anyone willing to talk. And here's the reality, fam. Memphis is tight, but it's not unbreakable. Somebody always knows something, and once the pressure starts, money laundering charges, harboring a fugitive, conspiracy cases, loyalty begins to crack. Somebody eventually decides they don't want to do federal time for someone else's mess. Everybody knows Pooh Shiesty and Chowawap go way back. Same circles, same connections, same history. And in that world, when one of your people is in trouble, you don't just turn your back. You help, no matter the risk, even if that help could land you with a federal conspiracy charge of your own. That's the code, and Pooh Shiesty has always been known for standing on that code heavy. In his music and in interviews before he was locked up, he repeatedly made it clear that loyalty comes before everything else. He spoke on never turning on his people, never cracking under pressure, and staying solid regardless of the consequences. And now, allegedly, he's still living by that same code, even if it means adding more time to his own sentence. But let's be real for a second. Helping someone who's a fugitive isn't a small offense. We're talking serious federal heat. Conspiracy to harbor a fugitive, obstruction of justice, possibly even aiding and abetting. If investigators can prove Pooh Shiesty was funneling money or resources to help Chowawap avoid capture, that's extra time stacked on top of what he's already serving. He's currently locked up on federal gun charges stemming from that Miami case, serving a 5-year sentence, and this situation could pile on even more years. And it wouldn't stop with him. Anyone involved, family, friends, associates, anyone who provided a place to stay, transportation, or assistance could be facing charges as well. The feds don't play when it comes to shielding fugitives, especially someone convicted of murder. Meanwhile, Chowawap is still out there. As of now, he remains on the run. Memphis police are actively searching, applying pressure to known associates, and checking every location they believe he might be tied to. His face is likely everywhere. Crime Stoppers listings, social media posts, local news alerts, along with reward offers for information. But the fact that he stayed hidden for this long tells you everything. You don't disappear for months without help. Not today, with cameras everywhere, facial recognition on the rise, and one slip-up being all it takes to get caught. So let's take a step back and really look at what this means. This story isn't just about one man slipping custody or one rapper allegedly helping him. This is about a massive system failure. How does a convicted murderer walk out of jail because of paperwork? How does that even happen in 2025? We have technology, databases, safeguards designed to prevent exactly this. Yet somehow a man is found guilty of first-degree murder and walks free in under an hour. That's wild. That's a breakdown of the justice system that puts entire communities at risk. Think about it. While Chowawap is still out there, he's a danger. He was convicted of killing one person and shooting another innocent. These aren't just names on paperwork. These are real people with real families who live with this loss every single day. Octavius had loved ones who will never see him again because of what happened at that intersection. And now, because of a clerical failure and allegedly because of help from people close to him, the man responsible isn't serving his life sentence. That's not justice, that's not safety, but it is the reality of this situation. A reality where loyalty can outweigh everything else, where the code sometimes matters more than the law, where people are willing to risk it all for their circle. I'm not here to judge it, I'm here to explain it. This is the environment Pooh Shiesty and Chowawap come from, and it's the same environment they're still operating in even from prison and on the run. So where does that leave things now? The investigation is ongoing. Federal agents and Memphis police are working non-stop to track down Chowawap and identify everyone who may have helped him. Pooh Shiesty's name keeps coming up, and if authorities build a strong case, new charges could be on the way. Every prison phone call is being reviewed. Every connection is under watch. The net is tightening. And when they finally catch Chowawap, and trust me, they will, everyone involved is going to feel it. That's how this always plays out. The feds don't just want the fugitive, they want the entire operation. They'll use that arrest to apply pressure, flip people, and expose how deep this really goes. That's when we'll learn the full truth about Pooh Shiesty's alleged involvement, if any. For everyone watching this unfold, it's a reminder that real life can be stranger than fiction. You truly can't make this up. A convicted murderer walks free in 38 minutes, and one of Memphis's biggest rappers is allegedly helping him from behind bars. That's how deep loyalty runs, and how ugly things get when the system fails. Stay locked in, because this story isn't over, and when new details drop, you already know I'll be right here breaking it all down. Until then, stay safe, stay sharp, and remember, the streets are always watching, and so am I. Peace.